Zero, starting life in another world. Arc 6, Hall of Memories. Phase 1. The Dragon Carriages, Way Back. Chapters 1-9. Natsuki Subaru's group continued to head directly east upon leaving the city of Priestella. They were heading towards the eastern edge of the world, the area in which the Augria Sand Dunes were contained, a plot of land with a rich history of the witch beasts that had existed there for hundreds of years, rejecting every existence from stepping foot onto their territory. It contained miasma that would cause travelers to lose their sense of direction and gnaw at their hearts. It contained groups of witch beasts as evil vanguards who would indulge themselves in devouring human lives. And then there was someone at the Watchtower, someone who was said to be waiting there, the sage. Subaru ***, knowing that alone, it feels like we're lining up for suicide. He said it low enough that it barely counted as saying it out loud at all. More like exhaling the thought, the words too uncomfortable to keep inside. The rocking of the dragon carriage swallowed them up. Outside, the road east rolled past in dusty brown, and the horizon ahead was perfectly flat, perfectly enormous, and perfectly empty. The kind of empty that made you feel very small and not particularly chosen by fate for greatness. The carriage held 5 people. To Subaru's right, Amelia. Silver hair, sharp amethyst eyes currently half-lidded with the particular quiet of someone chewing on something they hadn't said yet. She had one hand pressed light against the window, watching the road like it owed her an answer. To his left, Beatrice, occupying precisely half a seat in the proprietary way she had that made twice as much space feel like it belonged to her. Her twin drills were immaculate despite days of travel. She was watching Subaru with the calm vigilance she had never stopped giving him since the night in the Forbidden Library, the night everything changed between them, the night she chose him and he chose her, and neither of them spoke of it in those terms because they didn't have to. Across from them, Julius Juculius, Knight of Lagunica, posture impeccable as ever, hands resting with practiced ease on his knees. His face was composed. It was always composed. But there was something behind the composure right now, something that would be invisible to most people but that Subaru, who had spent enough desperate hours with Julius to learn the texture of his silences, could read. Julius was managing something. Managing it very well, and managing it entirely alone because that was the kind of man he was. Beside Julius, Anastasia Hashin, Kararaji merchant queen, silver-haired, wearing that fox fur scarf despite the warmth, turning her rings on her fingers with the idle focus of someone whose mind was always calculating 3 layers deeper than the conversation. She met Subaru's eyes and smiled, the smile of someone who knew more than they'd said and had decided the timing wasn't right yet. Subaru looked at Anastasia for a moment longer than he should have and felt the specific discomfort of a secret that wasn't entirely his to carry. Because the person looking at him through Anastasia's eyes was not entirely Anastasia Hashin. It was a long story. The short version was this: an artificial spirit called Echidna, not the witch of greed herself, but a version of her, a residue of her, a thing built from her essence that had been given its own name and was called Eridna, had taken residence in Anastasia's body after events in Priestella. The real Anastasia was elsewhere, displaced, her consciousness removed from the driver's seat. Eridna had said she had no intention of keeping permanent custody. Subaru did not trust this completely. He did not distrust it completely either. He filed it in the part of his head reserved for unsolved problems and moved on, because there was no other option, and he had long since made peace with the fact that this world had no shortage of unsolved problems. Only Subaru and Beatrice knew. Beatrice had agreed to watch for it, 2 artificial spirits born from the same which would always sense each other before anyone else did. He started absently petting Beatrice's head. Beatrice ***, what is it, I suppose? Subaru, why have you suddenly started petting Betty's head, in fact? Subaru ***, don't worry about it. It's just, I'm deeply emotional by the fact you seriously saved me back then. Thank you. Beatrice ***, I don't understand, I suppose. Also, my hair is getting messed up, so you don't have to stop, but pet it just a little softer, in fact. She tilted toward him as she said the second part. He petted softer. She didn't move away. There was a reason this made him emotional, and the reason was Julius, who was sitting across from him managing something silently. What Julius was managing was the knowledge that everyone who had ever loved him had forgotten his name. The Archbishop of Gluttony. Libatin Katos. He had consumed Julius's name during the events of Arc 5. Not his memories. Not his person. His name, the specific quality of existence that connected Julius Juculius to everyone who had known him. The result was catastrophic in its precision. Subaru, Emilia, Beatrice, and a handful of others who had been present retained Julius in memory. Everyone else. Every knight in his order. Every friend made across a lifetime of service, his contracted quasi-spirits, his younger brother, had simply lost him. He had not died in their memories. He had simply never been there. A gap in the shape of a person. Subaru knew this because he had been through something like it. Not the same. Not even close to the same. But he had lived through 4 versions of the Roswell mansion in which the people he'd begun to love treated him as a stranger. He remembered the specific shock of it. The way it hit, not like being hit but like being passed through, like the world had reorganized itself around the fact of your absence and hadn't noticed you were still standing in it. Julius had done what Subaru, when it happened to him, had needed Beatrice, and then Emilia, and then months of accumulated painful growth to manage. Julius had done it in a single night. Subaru ***, you're outrageous. He said it quiet enough that Julius didn't hear. But Beatrice, who was always listening. Beatrice ***, putting your unnecessary suspicions aside. It's fine that Subaru acted like Subaru and sought help from anybody without caring about who it was, just like you always have, instead of worrying about it alone, in fact. Though you came to Betty first, I suppose. I'll give you my praise this time for that, in fact. ***. She said it without looking at him, her head still slightly tipped under his hand. As if it were a small thing. It wasn't a small thing. But she had learned that he didn't always need it to be acknowledged as big. Sometimes just hearing it was enough. He looked at Emilia, who caught him looking and waved slightly with 2 fingers, a small private motion that meant I see you in the language the 2 of them had built up across months of catastrophe and trust. His chest did something complicated. They were going to the tower to cure Rem. That was the everything of it. The cure for Julius's eaten name might exist there too. The cure for Anastasia's displacement might exist there too. But the root of the root, the beating heart of why Natsuki Subaru was sitting in this carriage heading east toward the end of the world, was a sleeping girl in the carriage ahead of them, breathing softly in a coma she couldn't wake from, forgotten by everyone who didn't know the specific truth. Rem. He had not looked in on her before they left. He had stood in the doorway for a long moment, and then he had made himself turn around, because looking took something out of him that he needed for the road. He would look when they arrived. When he had something to tell her. They stopped first at Roswell's mansion. The reason was practical: resupply, information, rest, one last conversation with people who needed to know where they were going before they went. But it was also the kind of stop that was not entirely practical, and Subaru knew it, and everyone in the carriage knew it too, and no one said so, because that was the courtesy they extended each other. Petra met them at the gate in her maid's uniform, her back straight, her expression working hard at composure. She guided them in with the careful formality of someone who had decided that professionalism was the way through the next few minutes. Petra ***, welcome guests. Compliments to your efforts to make this long trip. I am Petra Leti, a maid of this residence. I will be your guide towards the mansion. ***, the formality of it, directed at people she had spent months serving, told Subaru everything he needed to know about what it was costing her. Julius, helping Anastasia down from the carriage with one hand, caught Subaru's eye over her head. He had heard the same thing in Petra's voice. He said nothing. Neither did Subaru. Some things you understood together, without having to make them a conversation. Inside the mansion, there was warmth and the smell of the place Subaru had come to think of as close to home in this world, and underneath both of those things, the quiet that Rem's absence had made. It was the kind of quiet that was louder than noise. He didn't wait. He went down the hall. He opened the door. Rem lay exactly as she always did. Blue hair spread wide across the white pillow. breathing even and slow and soft, her hands resting open at her sides. The slight imperfection of one lock of hair across her cheek that he always had the urge to brush aside and always stopped himself because it felt too much like reaching into something that hadn't been offered to him. She looked peaceful. That was the cruelty of it. She looked like someone dreaming of somewhere good. She did not look like someone who had been hollowed out. She did not look like the walking proof that the Archbishop of Gluttony had eaten an entire human being and left a breathing shell behind. She looked fine.
She was not fine.
Subaru. He stood at the foot of her bed. He didn't speak for a long moment. Then, quietly, Subaru. I'm going to find a way. That's what this is for. I don't know if the sage can do what I need them to do. I don't know if anyone can. But you once told me, I know you can't remember saying it, I know you can't remember anything, I know, you once told me to go back to my feeling good self. So I'm doing that. I'm going. This is me going. The room was quiet. Rem breathed in, breathed out. He smoothed the lock of hair off her cheek with the back of one finger and left the room before it could take anything else from him. The town of Myrila was the last real town before the dunes. A desert outpost stripped to its essentials. The inn, a bar, a stable, the kind of place that exists because someone has to service the people foolish enough to keep trying the impossible road east. Most of them didn't come back. The bartender had lost a leg to whatever had gotten him. He served drinks with the philosophical equanimity of a man who had recalibrated what counted as a good day. He told them one thing worth remembering, and Subaru filed it. If you see flower meadows in the sand dunes, run. The Augria Sand Dunes greeted them the morning they crossed the boundary with a sound, a low, sustained hiss, as if the desert was breathing at them. Fine sand moved in slow spirals at knee height, the kind of movement that wasn't quite wind and wasn't quite alive but felt disturbingly close to the second. And there, at the edge of the world, stabbing the sky, the tower, black, needle-thin from this distance, impossibly tall, perfectly visible. It had not gotten any closer by the time they stopped for the night. The party that had come this far was Subaru, Amelia, Beatrice, Julius, Eridneas Anastasia, Ram, Maley Portrout, the child witch beast caller they had recruited, who was currently sitting on the driver's box with Julius and pointing at things with the proprietary air of a 10-year-old who had decided this was her expedition now, and Patrash, Subaru's Black Earth Dragon, who was still furious at him for the Priestella incident and had made this known by striking him with her tail the moment he tried to feed her a peace offering. The gyrospecies Earth dragons Julius had secured for the carriage were wide-footed and sand-adapted, moving over the dunes with less difficulty than standard breeds. They were calm. This was good. Calm dragons were survivable dragons. The miasma was the first problem. It was everywhere, threaded through the air, sitting at the bottom of every breath, not immediately dangerous, but immediately present. Subaru could feel it as a vague pressing weight, like the world was slightly heavier here. Beatrice went quiet. Julius became more clipped. Ram maintained marble stillness that he was learning to read as her version of distress. Eridna and Amelia seemed unbothered, which struck Subaru as strange until Maley pointed out that they had things in common. Maley ***, some people, it doesn't bother as much. Usually people who already have something heavy living inside them, the miasma doesn't add much on top. Kind of like, if you're already wet, rain doesn't really soak you further. She said it with the cheerful detachment of a 10-year-old describing something she'd observed scientifically. Subaru thought about what she was saying and decided he'd rather not think about it. The sand earthworm appeared on the afternoon of the first day. It erupted from the sand without warning, a body more than 10 meters long with a girth that 2 men could not have circled with arms spread. Its eyeless had hunting by vibration and smell. It had locked onto the carriage. Maley had contained it, barely, her expression going pale and taut, her voice dropping to something flat and concentrated as she pushed her witch beast affinity against the creature's instincts and forced it down. The creature sank back into the sand with the sullen reluctance of something that had been told no and understood the word but resented it. Maley let out a single breath. The color came back to her face slowly. After that, Everyone's evaluation of Meili as an essential member was significantly revised upward. Night came. Emilia raised the ice wall to the east without being asked, a great curved barrier of white that sealed out the sand wind, which arrived at nightfall with the kind of patient, relentless force that explained why the dunes discouraged visitors. Behind that wall they were safe and cold and slightly stiff and alive. Subaru ***, maybe I should have asked earlier, but will the witch beast countermeasures work when we're sleeping too? Meili ***, of course. Having your butt chewed by animals you brought is such a stupid thought that it's not even funny. Subaru accepted this and did not pursue the subject. That night, Anastasia, Iridna wearing Anastasia's voice and posture and mannerisms, came around the side of the dragon carriage while Subaru and Julius were standing outside during Ram's treatment, necessary, private, and disquieting to overhear, and asked Subaru how he thought the day had gone. Subaru ***, the tower is perfect as a landmark, and we got the mark for the way back that I requested of Emilia Tan. Meili was more effective than expected. Those were the results, I guess. Julius, who had been listening, prefaced his next words with a sigh that meant I am about to say something you are not going to enjoy. Julius ***, Subaru. Have you not noticed anything peculiar about the tower? Subaru looked at the tower through the gap in the ice wall where the night air came through. The same tower. The same black needle. The same distance. The same. His throat stopped working for a moment. Subaru ***. Julius ***, it seems that you have noticed. That tower clearly is not getting closer, nor is it getting any farther. We have aimed at that tower, walking towards it this whole time, but the gap has not closed even slightly. A full day of walking. Hours of forward movement through difficult sand, through miasma, around witch beasts. The sand earthworm. The burning of Meili's concentration and Emilia's magical reserves. All of that distance covered, and the tower was precisely as far away as it had been when they arrived. Subaru crouched down and grabbed a fistful of sand. He stared at it. He let it fall. Subaru ***, no way. Julius ***, I understand your frustration. However, Subaru ***, so, after all the trouble we've been through today, being smeared with sand, and the distance we walked were all a waste. Conquering this place is such a pain in the ass. Julius ***, yeah. He was momentarily speechless. Subaru crouched there pouting in the sand like a man whose entire afternoon had been stolen from him, which was accurate. Julius had not previously observed him doing this specific thing, and did not immediately know how to respond to it. Iridna as Anastasia ***, this sandy plain between the dunes and the watchtower, the space is prolly distorted. In other words, contrary to what it seems, it ain't connected to land. We continue walking straight ahead, and no matter how long we walk, we'll never get there. Subaru ***, the space is distorted. Iridna as Anastasia ***, all you need to do is close the distance, especially if they'd been frantically attempting to escape the witch beast's den along this path. They'd probably want to go further. He thought, involuntarily, of every adventurer who had tried, who had stood exactly where he was standing, looking at a tower that was always the same size in the distance, and walked toward it for days, wondering why the gap wouldn't close, and eventually turned back, or didn't. He thought of them all reaching with everything they had towards something that was right there, and never getting it. The cruelty of that. The particular cruelty of being able to see the destination the whole time. Subaru ***, how do you defeat that? Iridna as Anastasia ***, during sand time, there should be a moment when the space connected to the watchtower collapses. We'll go through there, and enter the real sand sea. That's the condition of break-in through. She explained it precisely. During sand time, the 3 daily periods of the strongest sand wind, the miasma's concentration disrupted the spatial distortion, creating a brief instability in the field. Moving through that instability at the correct angle would break through the false loop and deposit them in the actual approach to the tower. 3 sand times per day, late night, morning, afternoon. They had wasted today, walking the wrong way. Tomorrow they would walk through the storm,